Okay, here we are. We are going to go through how to complete your assignment number 3.5, your short film soundtrack. This is the final project for Unit 3, which is our baselines unit in your music production class. So as usual, we get started in Google Classroom. So first place we're going to go. We click over to the classwork tab. All right, you're going to see your digital notebook at the top and then Unit 3. So find assignment 3.5, your short film soundtrack. Click there and click on the slides. So you can see already the first instruction is to copy and paste the 5 project slides into your digital notebook. And that's really important. So on this project, there's 5 slides. You can see them all with the yellow stripe on the side. There's a couple of extra reference slides as well, but you don't need to put those in your digital notebooks. So just go ahead and grab the 5 slides you need. Let me show you a little shortcut here. I'm going to click on the first slide. I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and then click on the last slide that I need. And you'll notice that it selects all 5 slides. Control C will copy those slides. And then I need to put them into my digital notebook. So back to Google Classroom, scroll to the top. I'm going to open my digital notebook. Wait for it to load. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Click on the last slide and select Control V for paste. That'll paste all 5 of those slides into my digital notebook. And I don't want to link them, and I want to keep original styles. Okay, so let's go to the first slide here. It says copy and paste the 5 project slides into your digital notebook. We just did that. So now I'm going to highlight that and turn it yellow just to check it off the list. So that's done. Now for step 2, it says choose a video for which to create a soundtrack. Type the name of the video you chose into the box below. So I have 3 choices here: a skateboarding video, I have an ocean video, okay, or a beach video, and I have a city street video. Okay, so you can click on these and watch them. You'll notice once you hit play that they don't have any sound. There's just nothing. There's no music behind it. There are no voices. So you'll have the opportunity first and foremost to create the music that's going to go behind these videos. And then if you have time at the end, you can also maybe go back and try to add in some sound effects or things like that. But the most important thing is to compose the music. So for me, I'm going to do this beach or ocean video. All right, so it says choose a video and type the name in the box below. Which video did I choose? I'm choosing where's my cursor? There it is. I'm choosing the ocean video. Okay, good. Step number 3, open a new Soundtrap project and change the name of the project to your name and 3.5 short film soundtrack. So here's my link up here to the studio. I'm going to open the studio, which gives me a blank project. Okay, of course, this is a music project. Okay, and I'm going to change it to 3.5 short film soundtrack and my name. There we go. I'm going to hit enter. And now again, you'll notice that right now I've just got the generic studio link. And when I hit save, it's going to create a unique identifier for this specific project. Okay, so if you get a link that just says studio on it and doesn't have all of these other letters and numbers after it, then you know you haven't hit save and you're not going to be able to get back to the project that you created. So make sure you keep an eye on that. So I chose my video. I forgot to highlight that one. So let me highlight step 2 because that's done. Okay, I opened a new Soundtrap project. I changed the name and I clicked save. So that's done. Now the next instruction is really important. It's got 2 parts. Okay, paste the URL to your Soundtrap project in the box provided below and on the 3.5 final slide. So let's first go get that URL, and that's this right up here. Okay, I'm going to select copy, come back into my digital notebook. I'm going to paste it here on that first slide. Once I can get my cursor there, paste it there. Okay, and then again, I'm going to go to the final slide, the very last one, and see how up here it says Soundtrap Project URL. Make sure you click in there and paste there as well. Okay, so then we have that in both places. I can go back here and I can say, okay, I did that. And highlight that. Okay, and then finally add Mr. Drew as a collaborator on your project and select share. So I come over here, I click share. Okay, and it's not going to let me add myself as a collaborator, but if I typed in Rick Drew, my name would come up on the list and I'd be able to select myself and click invite. Okay, and that's how we do that. And I would come back over here. I would highlight that yellow. And that completes our first slide, the setup of our project. And now that we've completed this first slide, we can move on to the next slide. So we've done all 5 here. We've checked them off the list, filled in both questions. And here is the second slide. So this is our drum groove portion. The instructions, you can see we have instructions 6, 7, 8, and 9. First one says, follow the links to the templates where you will compose your drum, groove, and fill. Use the composition strategies from Unit 2 to make original drum patterns. So that, those composition strategies are listed again in the instructions under where it says drum groove template. So it says start with a basic backbeat or 4 on the floor, and then use composition strategies, add, subtract, or shift a note to make an original drum groove. So let's look at that. I'm going to go to the template. And the first thing I'm going to do on the template is fill in a basic backbeat. So I'm going to use 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're going to use the snare on 2, 4. We're going to use the kick on 1 and 3. All right. And then I can listen to that. There you go. And so once I've done that, now I need to use those strategies, add, remove, or shift notes. So I'm personally going to I'm going to shift the kick drum there. I'm going to add, and I'm going to add a note in the snare. And we can listen to that again. Good. And that's going to be my groove. So I need to do 2 things from here. The first thing I need to do is take a screenshot, because you can say it's looking for a screenshot here. And then it says you can also paste a link as well. So let's look at how to do that. Screenshot, first of all, is Windows Shift S. Windows Shift S. Then you can go ahead and draw your square to get your screenshot. Perfect. Come back over here. You can just click Control V to paste. Shrink that down to the size you need and pop it right in that box. Now, the other thing you can do is you can also paste a link, just like in SongMaker. So the file menu is right here. It looks like a page. It says project menu. Click there. And then you can share this project as a link. So if I click here, click OK, and give it a second, then it's going to come up with this link. Copy to clipboard. There we go. And then I can just click inside that gray box and I paste the link there as well. So if I ever need to get back to that, I can just click on that link and it'll take me right back to my drum groove. Okay. So that was the drum groove. Now we need to do the same thing with the fill. So reading the instructions for the fill, your fill can be basically anything you want that is different from your groove. You can either create a 4-beat fill or fill in beats 1 and 2 just like your groove, and then create your fill on beats 3 and 4. So let's go to the template here. And you'll notice for the fill template, you have a couple of more options. You have a crash, you have toms, things like that. So I'm going to start with I guess I'll start with toms. Have a couple of toms here. And we can listen to that. Okay, and you can notice that it loops itself, so you'll hear the fill over and over again. But um, in your actual groove, it'll only come up once every 4 measures. Okay, so as I was saying, same thing here. We need a screenshot and we need the link. So we're going to come here. Whoops. Sorry. Keep track of your tabs. So we have a screenshot first. All right. So I'm going to draw my rectangle there. There we go. Come back here. I'm going to paste my screenshot. Just Control V to paste once I click off. There we go. Okay. Get it about the right size. There we go over there. Okay. And then, whoops, having trouble moving it. And then again, we can get that link. And if you get the link, that means you can go back and change it if you ever want to. That's the nice part about the link. So not required, but definitely if you want to go back and be able to make any changes later, if you want to edit, that'll give you the right spot to start with. Okay. So now I've got my groove and I've got my fill. So I've got my screenshots are here where they belong. I've got my links. And now I'm done with instruction 6. So I can highlight that. Groove and fill are composed. So now in instruction 7, it says from the template, choose export MIDI file to export your groove and fill. So we'll start with the groove. Click over here. I can see my groove. It has kick, snare, and hi-hat. All right. And go to the project menu. Click there. Export MIDI file. I'm going to label this drum groove and click OK. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Click over to my fill, which I can tell it's the fill because it has the extra toms and the crash. Click over here to the project menu, export MIDI file again. This one will be drum fill and click OK. All right. So back over here. From the template, choose export and export your groove and fill. That is done for step 7. And on to step 8. In Soundtrap, add a drum track to your project. Import the groove and fill into your drum track. Loop your groove to fill 3 measures. Then highlight the groove and fill, right-click, and merge regions. So let's come over here. Now I already have a drum track, but I will show you how to add it. So we'll delete the one that's here. I'm going to go to add a new track and drums and machines right there. See how I get this pattern beat maker? Now you don't need it anymore because we're using the template website, the drum machine website. So you can X out here. Now, Soundtrap has been acting up a little bit lately. So the first thing you can try is to drag your MIDI files into your track. But you see how it's not putting those in like I would want. And sometimes it might work and sometimes it might not. But if it doesn't work, the next thing you can try is go to these 3 dots right here and you can import a MIDI file. So you can see that I went straight to my downloads folder and I can very easily pick the drum groove right here that I saved before. Double click on that and there's my drum groove. So I just scoot that back to the beginning. Okay, and then my fill is going to go in measure 4. So I can do the same thing. Go to those 3 dots, import MIDI file, and then go to my downloads folder. And my drum fill, you can see right here. Okay, and that goes in measure 4. So now I've imported both the groove and the fill. And now I need to loop your groove to fill 3 measures. And then highlight the groove and fill, right-click, and merge the regions. So first thing is to loop the groove. So I grab the loop arrow, very important, at the top corner so that it repeats the groove. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight both of these right here. right click, and then I can click merge regions, and it makes it one loop that's 4 measures long. Okay, back to my slides. Now I've completed step 8. Okay, and I can mark that as done. And then finally, I look down at step 9, and step 9 says take a screenshot of your project in Soundtrap and paste it on the final slide of this project. So back over here, take the screenshot. I actually want to zoom in a little bit more so I can see the project a little bit better. So you come down here to the magnifying glasses, zoom in a little bit. There we go. Put that back where it was. And I'm going to Windows Shift S for a screenshot. Draw my little rectangle. There we go. Come back over here. And on the last slide in the project, it says screenshot 1, drum groove and fill in Soundtrap. Click there, Control V to paste, shrink that down, and pop it right in that box. Okay, one more thing to do before we move on from slide 2 is to highlight this yellow. And now is an excellent time at the end of this slide to pop over to Soundtrap and click that save button so that everything we've just worked on is saved and it's going to be there the next time we need it. Okay, so that is the end of slide 2, your drum groove. Okay, so now we're going to move on to slide number 3, which is your bass line. So the first thing I need to do for step 10 is choose a chord progression. And then for each measure, fill in the chord and the bass notes. That's what the instruction says. Now your choices for chord progression are listed over here on the right. Okay, you have 1, 5, 6, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 5, 4, 1, 1. I'm going to do my soundtrack with the ocean video, and I picked a drum groove that has sort of a faster rock feel to it. So I feel like I'm going to use the 4, 5, 6, 6 with the ascending chord structure because that's going to add to the excitement of the piece. So I've chosen that 4, 5, 6, 6. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that just so I know that's the one I'm choosing. Okay. And then it says for each measure, fill in the chord and bass note. So the chord here is going to be a 4. Chord here in measure 2 is going to be a 5. And we have a 6 and another 6. Okay. And then the bass note. So for each measure, what is the bass note? The 4 chord, the bass note is going to be F, as we've talked about. The 5 chord, the bass note is going to be G. Oops, capital G. And then for the 6 chord, the bass note will be A. And for this, the other 6 chord in measure 4, the bass will also be A. So that completes instruction number 10. I chose my chord progression, and then I filled it in each measure. Highlight that, and check. Now, the next thing I need to do is decide whether I will link the bass line to the kick or the hi-hat, and fill in that line with the pattern from your groove and fill on slide 2. For me, I feel like I want to use my kick pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and get the kick from slide 2. So I'm looking over here, and I had the kick in 2 spots. I had it on 1 and the and of 2. So now that I've seen that, I'm going to click back here and fill that in on 1 and the and of 2. Let me actually make that a capital. 1 and the and of 2 in each measure. 1, the and of 2, and 1, the and of 2, and 1, over, and the and of 2. Okay, so that's filled in. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and fill in the rest of the drum groove. So I'm gonna do that, just housekeeping. Fill in the rest of the drum groove, and then I had let's see, we'll go here on beat 2, 4 and beat 2, 4 and. Again, this isn't required, but it's a good thing just to sort of be able to organize all of this visually on the slide. So 2, 4, and 2, and okay. So I've filled in. I've chosen first of all that my bass line is going to be linked to the kick, and second of all, I've filled in that pattern, the kick pattern, in all 4 measures of my groove. Now, just notice here, I didn't put in the fill in measure 4, and I don't really want you to worry about that. Just do the groove 4 times because the bass line can change in the 4th measure to match the drum fill, but it doesn't have to. And in my particular case, for my composition, I'm not going to change the fill, the bass line in measure 4 to match the fill. If you choose to do that, that's fine. So I've gone ahead and filled in the drum pattern, and so I can check that off. Step number 12, I'm going to compose my bass line in the space provided and place the letter of the pitch in the places where the notes will go. So I'm going to start by deciding on a rhythm. And so I'm looking at the kick, and I only have 2 kick notes in each measure, okay, on 1 and the and of 1. And so I think, first of all, I'm going to link to the kick, and I want my bass line to be more active. So I'm going to put 4 notes. Okay, so I'm going to take the kick here. Actually, I think I'm going to use 5 notes. So I'm going to add a bass note on 1, 2, and 4 and. So the bass line is going to go dum, doo, dum, doo, doo. Okay. I can sort of anticipate what this is going to sound like in my head as I'm thinking through this. It's going to go dum, doo, dum, doo, doo, dum, doo, dum, doo, doo, dum, doo, dum, doo, doo, dum. And I can just sort of plan that. And so I can see those 5 notes in the bass line. Now, I put them in with the X's first. I'm going to have to go in and change those X's to the letter that is the bass note for that measure. So here you can see that letter is going to be F in the first measure. Oops. Okay. And in the second measure, it's going to be G. I've already planned that out over here. So the second measure is going to be G, G. Under the third measure, and that's going to be A. And I'm putting the letters in the same places in each measure. I'm just using the letter that is the right letter for that measure. There we go. So now I've filled in the letters in all of the boxes. Oops. So compose my bass line in the space provided and place the letter of the pitch in the places where your notes will go. Step 12 is done. Now for step 13, this is where things get a little bit interesting, okay? I'm going to take this pattern for my bass line and fill it in Songmaker. So before you switch over to Songmaker, I want you to really notice on this pattern, I have an F and an empty box, 2 more Fs, 2 empty boxes, and 2 more Fs. Okay, so just that pattern of where the boxes are filled in and where they're empty. When I click on the link, I'm going to get the Songmaker interface, right, which is the grid with all the colored boxes. If you want to reference for what letter equals what color, you can pop back here. You can see your assignment 3.4 has that guideline right there in it. So the C is red, the D is orange, the E is yellow, and you can see the light green is the F, and that's the note I need to start on for my bass line. So I'm going to be looking for light green, which will be the 4th box up. So back to the bass line slide. I'm going to click my template link. And once it loads, okay, you see I have this C right here, but I don't need to start on C. I need to start on F. So I'm going to count up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, my F. Really quick to notice, you can see how there's a white area here, a gray area here, white area, and gray area. And it's important to notice that those are your measures, okay? So you're going to go measure 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of being stacked like they are here, where you have measure 1, 2, 3, and 4, over here they're just all in a row, okay? So back to that pattern. Have a look again. F space FF space space FF. Let me click that. F space FF space space FF. Now I know that I have that same pattern and I just need to go up to G for the second measure and then to A for the last two measures. All right, so let me hop back here. I'm going to go up to G, whoops, G, and then up to A. And then the same thing one more time. Now I can listen to that if I want, but that's basically the pattern right there. That's all I need. So I programmed it in. And then I'm going to check that off. Now it says take a screenshot of your bassline in SongMaker and paste it into your final slide in the box provided. So I go back to SongMaker, Windows Shift S. Okay, there's actually another way that you can do it. If you add a note you don't need and then right click, see how the note goes away and I can just copy image. I'm going to do that for you. And then I'm going to paste that on the final slide in the box provided. So I come back here, see how it says screenshot number 2, bassline in SongMaker. Control V to paste. And shrink it down so it fits. And it still doesn't fit, so shrink it even more. Okay, so that's one. Back to the slide we were working on. So I put it, bassline into, so take a screenshot and put it in the final slide. That's done. Okay. We're going to save the song, copy and paste the link into this box here. So I have to get my picture out of the way here. Save the song, copy the link, put it on the slide. There we go. Paste. And then finally, I'm going to download the MIDI file and drag it into my Soundtrap project. So back to the Music Lab, download MIDI right here. Then I'm going to drag that into my project. So before I do this, I need to have a bassline track. All right. So if I drag it into a bassline track, I want you to see that, oh, and it's giving me that trouble again. So I need, if I can't drag it in, I need to click on the 3 dots, import MIDI file, and just bring it in from there. So there it is. If you were dragging it in, then it would come in as a drum file, even if it would go at all, which it won't right now. So those 3 dots and import the MIDI file is really the best way to do it when you already have a bassline track there. Okay, so that completes step 15, and that completes slide number 3 of our short film soundtrack project. Okay, so now we can move on to slide number 4, which is our chords slide. And instruction 16. Instruction 16 says, in your Soundtrap project, add a synth, guitar, piano, or other track for your chords. So I'm going to go over to my Soundtrap project up here, and I'm going to add a new track, and it says synth, guitar, keyboard, or orchestral. Any of those are an option. So I'm going to go ahead and use, I guess I'm going to go with synthesizer. And you can pick any of the synthesizer sounds that are here. We'll leave the one we have for now. Okay, and I'm going to X out of this. So now I have that track available. I'm going to go back. So I added the track. Step 16 is done. Where's the highlight? There we go. Now, 17. Choose a loop from the options to the right that matches the progression you chose on the last slide. Download one, drag it into the new track in your Soundtrap project, and trim or loop the region to make it 4 bars. So, most important thing, choose a loop that matches the progression you chose on the last slide. So the progressions are these Roman numerals, right? And if we look on the last slide, you had 3 choices. You had 1564, 4566, and 5411. On this slide, or I should say, I picked 4566 for my example. So when I come down here, I need to stay 4566. I need to stay in this blue stripe right here. Okay. And so all 8 of these options will work with those chord progressions. You can click on them and play them. Okay. And you can click on them and play them and listen to each one, knowing, by the way, that whatever the instrument is that you hear, you can change that instrument. The melody or the chords will be the same, but the instrument you can change once you get it into Soundtrap. So you can see these end with the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you have 8 choices. I'm going to go ahead and put in, I'm going to use number 5. You can listen to it by hitting the play button here. Okay. And then you can download it clicking the link itself. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. It's going to put it right down at the bottom of my screen. Now, when I go back over to Soundtrap, okay, because it's download the one that I picked and drag it into the new track in your Soundtrap project. So come over to Soundtrap and drag it in. Let's see if Soundtrap will let me drag it or if I'm going to have to import it. Oh, look at that. It let me drag it in. So now I've got this new chords loop in my synthesizer track. We can give that a listen. Okay, so that's in place. I don't need to trim it. Let's just go back and look. I don't need to trim it or loop it or anything. It's already 4 measures. It's ready to go. So that's great. Back over here, and step 17 is done. Okay, it's that simple. All right, and I can highlight that. All right, now we're going to add another track of any instrument that's not drums for a melody. So for me personally, I think I want electric guitar. So I'm going to go in, add a track, and I'm going to pick guitar. Now, really important that I don't want an amplifier. I'm not going to like plug a guitar in and play it. Okay, I want a guitar sound that I'm going to program a sound. So make sure you're clicking on the guitar over here. So guitar, and I'm going to X out of that again. And that's going to be my melody track. Back to my slides here. So I've added that track. That's done. Highlight that. Now this next instruction, there's a lot to it. So I'm going to go to SongMaker and compose a 4 or 8 measure melody that starts and ends on C. Then I'm going to click Save and export it as a MIDI file and place it in my project, my Soundtrap project. So click on the SongMaker link. And the template here is 4 measures. Okay. And so I'm going to start and end on C, but I'm going to do it in kind of an interesting way. So I'm going to start down low here. I'm going to sort of build up and end on C, but I'm going to end on the high C up there. And I'm actually going to end a little bit early. So if I start here, a couple of good pieces of advice for your melody is you can use an established form. So like I'm going to think of these 4 measures as an A, B, A, C. So I'm going to put the same thing in the 2 white measures. So for instance, if I went like this. Okay, so I can do that. I'll do the same thing here. And then I can do something different here. So that's A here and A here. I'll do something different here. So I can do that. And then I'll do something similar, but not the same. All right. And then that'll be complete. Now, I probably also want to leave some open space. So I left some open space in my A idea, but in my B and my C, there's not a whole lot of open space. So maybe Maybe I just want to take out one note there. So, and that'll create some open space for my melody. Now, that again is an A, B, A, C form. You can use an A, you can use an A, B, A form, or you can use any other form that you want, but choosing one of those forms ahead of time sort of helps the melody make sense and not just feel like random notes. So we have this. I've composed that melody. It starts and ends on red, and then I'm going to hit save and export it as a MIDI file. Okay, so let me just get my video out of the way here. Hit save down in the lower corner. Okay, download MIDI. All right, and drag that here into the new track in my Soundtrap project. And there I have it. So if we go back and listen, and I just need to adjust some volume things there. Let's pull back the synthesizer a little bit louder on the guitar, and we can make that work better. Another idea would be, probably wouldn't be a bad idea if I actually put all this into the upper octave. That would actually make it probably sound a little bit better. That's an option. And then also I'm going to save and copy the link and put the link down here where it says Songmaker link. So there we have it. So I've done step 19. I made a melody, put the melody into a MIDI file and the MIDI file into my Soundtrap project. And number 20, I pasted the link into the box at the right. So those two things are done, and I can highlight right there. Okay, and that completes slide 4, which is your chords and melody for your short film soundtrack. Okay, now it's time for your final slide. Instructions 21 through 24, and completing your short film soundtrack project. So we've collected all our screenshots. We've done steps 1 through 20. We get to 21, and now it's time to change from thinking about composing music to thinking about working with film. So we're going to go in Soundtrap and change the ruler for your project to time instead of beats. Then we're going to loop out the project to last 55 seconds and add a fade out in the last few seconds. So go over here. The gear icon right here is where we're going to change the ruler. Now the ruler is this line up here that says all of the measure numbers. And we can control how far apart those measures are using the magnifying glass buttons. So I need to zoom out so that I can see more numbers. And then I'm going to go to the gear icon and scroll all the way down. Okay, and you see how it says ruler is beats or time. So right now it's on beats and I want it to be on time. Okay, because as soon as we need to start talking about videos, videos think in minutes and seconds. So I click time, and now you're going to see minutes and seconds. And what we know is that we need to loop this out so that it's 55 seconds or so long. So I'm going to take this and just loop it out. And you see I need to be halfway in between the 50 and the 1 minute. Okay. And then do the same thing here and here and here. So that's all looped out to 55 seconds or so. If I zoom in, I can actually go in and double check and make sure it's right on 55 seconds. But really what it needs to do is match your video. So you might want to go and check how long your video actually is. What is the ending of your video? And that is step 21. And then finally, so loop the project to 55 seconds and add a fade out in the last few seconds. Here's the important part. Here's how you do a fade out if you haven't done this already. We go to the end, and there's all these things we can do at the end. We can do a loop. We can do, sometimes we can do a trim if we're at the beginning of a section. But in this one, I hope you can see there's these little white dots at the top corner. And when I put my cursor there, it changes to an arrow. And so I grab that dot and fade out. for the last few seconds. So maybe I want to go back 5 seconds, or maybe I want to go back 3 seconds, but I'm going to grab that white dot and move it. And you can see the slanted line reflects turning the volume down. So same thing on each of my 4 tracks. I'm just going to drag it back so that they look roughly the same. Okay. And so what you'll hear, if you rewind that a little bit, when you hit play, is that it's going to fade out towards the end. Okay. And I can see that everything lines up, everything came to the end together, and my fade out works. And so that completes step 21. All right. And if you want to zoom back out, you can see that it's just one nice long soundtrack. If you've done something more complicated with different sections or where parts enter and exit, then obviously yours is going to look a little more complicated than this. But this is the simplest version of the project. So come back here. 21 is done. So I can highlight that. Step 22 is export your audio from Soundtrap as an MP3 file. Before we can do that, we have to click Save. And we have to give it a chance to finish mixing. So what it's doing is taking all of these tracks and combining them into one file. So we've got 4 tracks right now, and Soundtrap needs a minute to combine all of those into one file. So give it a minute, and this mixing will turn into a download icon when it's done. Okay, so now that's done mixing, and the download arrow has come up. Now, we don't want to download the mix using the arrow because it'll give us the wrong kind of file. So we want to come over to the File menu. We want to export, and we want an MP3 file. All right, so we're just going to click that, and it's going to download that MP3 file right to our downloads folder. Okay, so we've exported that as an MP3 file. So now at this point, we also need to make sure that we have downloaded our video from Google Drive. So if you haven't already, now's your time to go back to the first slide and actually download. For instance, I picked the ocean video. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that so that it comes up, and then I'm going to download it using the download arrow at the top and download anyway. So we're going to download this video, the video and our audio, and then we're going to use a program on our computer called Video Editor to combine those two into the same file. All right, so coming back over here, now we have our audio file and our video file. Back down to the last slide, use Video Editor to combine your audio and video, combine your audio with the video file you choose. So go to your Windows menu, okay, the Windows icon down in the corner, and then you can look for Video Editor, okay, and I have it right here. The other way to do it is, and this is just a little shortcut for all of you, if you hit the Windows button on your keyboard and then just type video, and you can find the Video Editor app, okay, and that's what you need. So Video Editor, that brings up a new window. Okay, don't worry about this Clipchamp thing. We want to make a new project. It's going to ask me, I'm going to name it 3.5 short film soundtrack, and then my name. Hit OK. We're going to add the video file first. That's very important. So I'm going to click over here on the Add button from my PC. I'm going to go to my Downloads folder, and here's my beach video right here. Double click. I need to drag that in to the storyboard, and then I need to just, once it loads in, you'll start to see all of this come up. I'm going to go to Custom Audio, Add Audio File. And same thing in the downloads folder, I have my audio file. Double click on that. And you'll see that the audio fills just about the whole track down here at the bottom. Okay, if for any reason it only fills half or something like that, you know you have a problem, but it should fill just about the whole track. And then I can click done. You can go ahead and play your video and make sure that you get audio and video together. And as long as you have all that, then one last step, click Finish Video. And that's going to create a video file. Hit Export. And that'll save it. Probably it'll try to put it in your downloads folder, which is fine. You can put it in your documents. Doesn't really matter, but remember where you saved the file, because there's then we have to put it in Google Drive in a minute. So I'm going to export that file, give it a chance. Okay, that's done. And you'll see that it sort of pops up here when it's done exporting. Sometimes it takes a little while, so definitely give it time. But there it is. So now we can close out of all of this. All right, and I combine the audio and video. So that's done. Now, upload the combined video with audio file to your Google Drive and insert it in the box below. Very important here. I'm going to make a new tab. I'm going to go to Google Drive, which is just drive.google.com. I'm going to go to New, File Upload. I'm going to go get that file that I just made, short film soundtrack. Click Open. And now you'll see it upload. Slide that out of the way. You'll see it upload. You'll have a little check mark when it's done. Okay. And you saw it come in, and it's actually oh, right. So it's in my drive. So there it is. Short film soundtrack. There we go. And so now I can go back to my notebook, and it says insert it in the box below. So let me get my video here out of the way. And you can see insert final video with soundtrack right in this box down in the right-hand corner. So I'm going to go to the insert button up here, insert video. And if you click on Google Drive over here, it's probably going to show you your video. It's going to show you the most recent thing. Okay. And if not, you can search for it by the title, or you can look at recent. But this is the one I need right here. So I just click on it, hit select. It's going to come in a little bit big. It's going to ask you to share it with whoever can see your digital notebook, which is probably me. And it'll probably say teachers of, the Google Classroom teachers. So go ahead and share as a viewer, or you can click allow anyone with the link to view and share. Shrink this down so that it fits in the box, and then plop it right there. And now you can play it to make sure it works. They're formatting it. So later on that'll work, and that'll look just fine. So upload the combined video and audio and insert it in the box below. And that, folks, at long last, is the end of our project for the end of Unit 3, our 3.5 short film soundtrack. So everything is here. You'll see, oh, I just need to grab a screenshot of the final Soundtrap project. I can do that. Draw my little rectangle here. Here we go, and I'll plop that in as well. Paste for the format. Shrink that down. And screenshot 6, it actually doesn't ask for anything, so don't worry about that box. But now I've got all of my screenshots, all of my steps are highlighted. I can go back and make sure I didn't miss anything, but it's all there. Okay, So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, good luck with your finishing off your 3.5 short film soundtrack. Take care.